federal law enforcement officers are going out there abducting people because of the color of their skin?
Yes.
Yeah, that's rich, and it's pathetic, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're breaking down a perfect example of how a radical narrative gets completely torn apart. We've all seen Dan Goldman before. He's the type who assumes he's the smartest guy in the room just because of his background, his address, and his money. But this time, he stepped into a room with someone who truly understands what real service looks like, Representative Eli Crane. In this clip, you'll watch Goldman attempt to manipulate the public into believing that our law enforcement officers are some kind of secret police force. Honestly, it's one of the most insulting things said on the House floor in a long time. This is elite arrogance colliding head-on with the reality faced by people on the front lines. And trust me, Goldman was not prepared for the facts and evidence Crane was about to lay out. Watch this carefully, and then we'll talk about why Goldman and the witnesses backing him pose such a serious danger to this country.
Law enforcement agents should not be masked. And we hear about this number, 1,000% of threats now that have been raised. The data shows there's a 25% increase of charged assaults against law enforcement officers. That is too much. That is not okay. There's obviously a dramatic increase in operations, but we should not have in this country our law enforcement agents walking around in secret using excessive force like that. You all, I know, agree that. We don't need secret police in this country. All the criminal law enforcement agents wear masks, as you say, for operational
Gentleman's
reasons,
time has expired. I now
not to
recognize
hide
the
their
gentleman
face.
from Arizona.
And I thank you, and I yield back.
Mr. Crane.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for holding this hearing today on how anti-law enforcement rhetoric fuels violence against officers. I want to thank you also to the panel for showing up today. I also want to point out that Mr. Goldman was just, talking to Mr. Thompson about how these agents, get up every day and they're not putting on uniforms. And then he showed several videos, and I want to point out that 90% of the law enforcement officers in those videos were, in fact, wearing uniforms. Now I want to pivot to you, Mr. Hodges. In your opening testimony today, I want to read through some of the transcript that you provided the committee. The fact of the matter is that right now in the United States of America, there is a secret police force abducting people based on the color of their skin. Did you say that as well?
Yep.
You really believe that?
Yep.
So you don't think that our law enforcement officers are going out and trying to arrest people who are here illegally that are also have been convicted of crimes? You don't think that that's what they're doing?
I think they do that sometimes, sure.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. And it's funny because you say in your testimony that I've been on the receiving end of threats and violence due to the work I've done in the name of the law, yet you're sitting here and you're saying that these law enforcement officers, you're fueling the same rhetoric, and now people are going to come after them for that. Do you agree with that, Mr. Thompson?
100%.
Mr. Hughes? What about you, Mr. Yos?
Absolutely.
And I appreciate your service. I do. I know it's not easy to put on a badge, but I can't believe you would sit here and say that. You would complain about the treatment that you've received because of the work that you've done in the name of the law, and then you have the audacity to come in here and say that these men and women, federal law enforcement officers, are going out there abducting people because of the color of their skin?
Yes.
Yeah. That's rich, and it's pathetic, and you should be ashamed of yourself. It's funny because I got a buddy of mine who doesn't have the same color of skin that I have, who's texting me right now during this hearing, watching you. Guy worked in the Border Patrol for a long time, and he told me, he texted me, that's a slap in the face to all of us who go out there and fight against cartels and criminals each and every day. You're trying to make it about color of skin, and we all know at the end of the day, there are so many law enforcement officers, great law enforcement officers that represent all of our communities that have every color of skin out there. They pray to different gods, and they're just trying to do their job. Do you find that ironic that you're actually doing the same thing that you're complaining about in your opening statement? Is that lost on you, Mr. Hodges?
I don't understand the question.
Yeah, I figured you wouldn't. That's pathetic, man. I want to play a video. You guys got my video? Anybody? All right. Now, obviously, we're sitting in here talking about rhetoric and how it fuels violence against officers. For you guys that represent so many officers around the country, what do you think it means to people that, are out there watching and listening, watching social media, watching the news, and they see a member of Congress who sits on this committee go out there and behave like that? Go ahead, Mr. Thompson.
I'm appalled. I'm disappointed. I believe it's beneath the dignity of this body, this committee, and membership to it. And quite honestly, I find it reprehensible, and it's obviously dangerous.
Unbelievable. Did you all just see that? Let's start with the pure nerve of Dan Goldman. He's sitting there, comfortable in his suit, talking about secret police and excessive force as if he's starring in some dystopian movie. Goldman perfectly fits the image of a limousine liberal. He's happy to rely on police protection when it benefits his neighborhood, but the moment he wants to score points with a radical audience, he's quick to throw officers under the bus. He actually labels the men and women who risk their lives every day as abductors. Think about how insane that is. These are real people with families, people who go into the most dangerous situations to keep the country safe, and Goldman compares them to some shadowy regime just because they wear masks during high-risk operations. That's not oppression, that's tactical safety. It's about protecting officers and their families from retaliation by cartels and criminals. But Goldman wouldn't understand that, because the biggest threat in his world is a poorly made latte. Then there's Eli Crane, a former Navy SEAL who has witnessed real oppression across the globe. Watching him listen to Mr. Hodges push that nonsense about abductions based on skin color, you could see the anger building. When Crane directly asked him if he truly believed that, and Hodges smugly replied yes, it perfectly exposed what's wrong in Washington right now. Facts don't matter to them. All they care about is pushing a divisive narrative. Crane called it exactly what it was: pathetic. It was an insult to every Border Patrol and ICE officer out there. And then came the video. Crane pulled back the curtain and showed the woman in the red jacket. That's the reality behind the rhetoric. People blocking justice, screaming at officers, and actively interfering with law enforcement, yet Goldman still has the audacity to pretend the officers are the real problem. Crane didn't just win an argument here, he exposed the deeper rot. While the left throws tantrums and sulks, there are still adults trying to stop this country from sliding into chaos. Goldman looked like a child who lost his toys because Crane actually showed up with logic and evidence. It's time we stop allowing ivory tower politicians to lecture us on morality while they weaken the very people who keep society from falling apart. Eli Crane represents the backbone Congress desperately needs. Goldman, on the other hand, is just a spokesperson for a party that has completely lost its direction. What do you think? Is Goldman completely out of touch, or is he simply playing his role for the radical left? Drop your thoughts below. Hit the like button if you stand with law enforcement and leaders like Eli Crane. Stay informed, stay alert, and keep searching for the truth.